I planned my dream wedding for 3 years. But then I opened his laptop and found my sister in the honeymoon photos. I planned my dream wedding for 3 years. Not 3 months. Not 1 year. 3 long, beautiful, painful, carefully built years. Every flower, every fork, every candle, every color, I chose it. It was more than a celebration. For me, it was proof that love still existed, that happiness wasn't just for the lucky ones, that someone like me, someone who had lost so much, could still have a beautiful ending. And in the center of it all was Daniel. I met Daniel when my world was cracked wide open. My mother had passed away after a long, brutal fight with cancer. I was barely 24, working two exhausting jobs, morning shift at a bakery and night receptionist at a rundown motel, just to keep us afloat. Us, meaning me and my 17-year-old sister Chloe. Our father had left when we were kids. So when mom died, I became everything to Chloe, her guardian, her sister, her stand-in mother. I was drowning in responsibility. I didn't have time to grieve. I didn't have time for love, or joy, or anything, really. Then one evening, around 11:30 p.m., I dragged myself into a small coffee shop that somehow still stayed open that late. I just needed caffeine to get through the night shift. That's when I saw him. He had warm hazel eyes, a half-tucked shirt, slightly messy hair. His name tag said Daniel. And when I ordered a black coffee with 1 sugar, he smiled and said, "Rough night?" I was too tired to even pretend. I said, "Rough life." He chuckled and slid the coffee across. "On the house," he whispered. "I think you earned it." That became a ritual. Every night before work, I stopped by. Every night, he gave me something, a coffee, a smile, a silly joke. And slowly, it became less about the caffeine and more about him. I didn't even realize I was falling for him until one night when I didn't show up. Chloe had the flu, and I stayed home to take care of her. The next day, when I walked into the shop, he looked worried. He said, "I thought something happened to you." That night, he walked me to work, and the next night, and the next. He never made a move, never crossed a line. He just showed up in the small ways, the quiet ways. He listened. He remembered things I didn't even know I said out loud. Like how I like cinnamon in my hot chocolate, or how I miss my mom's peach cobbler. One weekend, he actually made it for me, using a recipe he found online. I think that's when I knew. We started dating officially 6 months later. Chloe adored him. She called him Mr. Charming. She teased him, always lighthearted, always playful. I thought it was sweet. I mean, she was a teenager. And Daniel, well, he was the only stable, kind man either of us had ever known. When he proposed, 3 years later, I was ready. It was under this old willow tree at the edge of the park near my childhood home. The same spot where we'd had our first real date. He had strung fairy lights through the branches. There was music playing softly, our song. And when I turned around, he was down on one knee. I cried. Ugly sobs. The kind of tears you cry when you feel like the universe is finally giving something back after taking so much. Chloe ran to me afterward, hugged me tight. "I'm so happy for you," she whispered. "You deserve this. You both do." She looked genuinely thrilled. Looking back, I don't know if it was real. I don't know when it started or why or what I missed. Because from that moment on, everything I did, every decision I made, was to create the perfect day. I knew we didn't have a lot of money, so I saved obsessively. I picked up freelance event planning gigs, took on weekend shifts. I created vision boards. I stitched parts of my gown by hand. I sourced thrifted decor and turned them into art. I found an abandoned greenhouse and convinced the owner to rent it out as a venue. Daniel would laugh and say, "You're incredible." And Chloe would say, "You're a wizard. I don't know how you do it." She was with me every step of the way. She was my maid of honor, my best friend, my sister. She helped me choose the invitations, the linens, the color palette. She even convinced Daniel to take her along to check out honeymoon locations when I was too busy with work. At the time, I thought nothing of it. I was tired, burnt out. I trusted both of them more than anyone else in the world. Daniel was my soon-to-be husband. Chloe was my family. If either of them had told me the sky was purple, I would have believed it without looking up. There were moments that feel different now. Like the time Chloe and Daniel were whispering on the balcony and got startled when I came out. Or how Chloe always took his side in arguments, even tiny ones. Or how she joked that if I didn't marry him, she would. I laughed back then. Now, it echoes like a warning I didn't hear in time. 3 months before the wedding, we had our final venue walkthrough. Chloe and Daniel went without me because I had the flu. They took photos and videos for me, sent updates, even FaceTimed me during the visit. I remember Chloe's voice, excited and full of ideas. I remember Daniel's arm around her shoulder, both of them smiling. My fever was high. Maybe my brain didn't process the wrongness of it. I remember thinking, they really are close. And then, I'm lucky they get along. No, I was naive. 1 month before the wedding, Daniel's laptop started acting up. He left it with me to fix. I used to be the techie one. He was rushing out for something. Chloe was already in the car, waiting to drive him to the tailor. I remember opening the laptop. I remember the folder named Final Honeymoon Plans. I remember double-clicking it. And I remember my heart stopping. But that's not this part of the story. That's later. Right now, all I want you to know is this. I loved him. I loved them. And I gave everything I had to create something beautiful, not just for me, but for us, for the family I thought we were building together. I never imagined that the two people I trusted the most would be the ones to destroy it all. There's a strange silence right before your world implodes. I didn't scream. I didn't drop the laptop. I just sat there, still, staring at the screen, trying to make it make sense. The folder was called Final Honeymoon Plans. I assumed it was logistics, hotel info, flight tickets, sightseeing spots in Santorini. That's what Daniel had told me, after all. It was a surprise for me. You'll find out on the day we leave, he had said with a smile. A smile I now realize I didn't understand at all. But instead of hotel bookings or travel brochures, I found photos. Hundreds of them. Time-stamped, labeled, sorted into folders by month. And in almost every single one of them, Daniel and Chloe. Not smiling like siblings-in-law. Not standing at a distance like people who just happened to be in the same place. But entwined, laughing, touching. Sometimes intimately. Sometimes playfully. Sometimes in ways I can't even describe without choking on the bile rising in my throat. There was one video that undid me. It was dated exactly 1 year before our wedding date. I clicked play. My hand was shaking. Daniel was filming. Chloe was sitting on a hotel bed in a white robe, holding a wine glass. She looked tipsy. She was laughing. And then she looked into the camera and said, "You're not really going to marry her, are you?" Daniel's voice behind the camera. "It's just for appearances." "Chloe, you better not kiss her like you kiss me." They both laughed. She tossed the pillow at him. The video ended in a blur of movement and breathy moans. I sat there for nearly an hour, scrolling, clicking, watching betrayal unfold frame by frame. My little sister. The girl I had raised. The one I fed when she was too sad to eat. The one whose nightmares I chased away. The one who borrowed my clothes and stole my makeup and cried in my arms when boys broke her heart. Had been sleeping with my fence behind my back. For years. I remember the room spinning. I remember my hand covering my mouth. Not because I was crying, but because I was screaming silently. The betrayal wasn't just romantic. It was familial. It was bone deep. Like someone had carved out my ribs while I was still awake and left me hollow. I didn't even notice Daniel walk in. Didn't hear the front door. Didn't hear his footsteps. I just felt a shift in the air. And then I heard his voice behind me. Calm. Too calm. "What are you doing?" I didn't turn around. I couldn't. I fixed your laptop, I said. My voice cracked on the word laptop like I'd said something profane. He paused, then walked closer. You shouldn't have gone through my. Don't. That single word came out of me like a growl. I turned around slowly, laptop still open. The video paused on Chloe blowing him a kiss. I met his eyes. You slept with her. He looked stunned for a second. Then, he had the audacity to sigh. Like I was the problem. Like he was exhausted by my discovery. Look, it wasn't supposed to go this far. Years, Daniel, I snapped. I saw the dates, the videos, the photos, the ones where you're kissing her, the ones where you're in my house, my bed. He flinched at that. Good. I stood up. How long? Be honest. His eyes dropped to the floor. He ran a hand through his hair. A little after we got engaged. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was so stupidly cruel that laughter was the only thing left. 3 years, I whispered. 3 years I planned a wedding for a man who was screwing my sister. My maid of honor. He tried to reach for me. I didn't mean for it to. I backed away like he was fire. Don't touch me. That's when Chloe walked in. She froze in the doorway. One glance at my face, at the laptop still glowing on the coffee table, and her mouth dropped open. Shit, she whispered. That's all. Just shit. Not I'm sorry. Not it's not what you think. Just shit. Like she'd been caught sneaking out for a party, not detonating my entire life. I stared at her, and for a long time, I couldn't say a word. I just looked. Really looked. And I saw her, not the little girl I protected, but the grown woman who had smiled in my face while sleeping with my future husband, who had stood next to me at bridal fittings while planning my honeymoon with him. I raised you, I said finally. My voice was so soft it scared me. I gave up everything after Mom died. I worked 2 jobs so you could finish school. I skipped college. I stayed. I sacrificed. And this is what you do? Her lips parted. No words came out. Say something, I said. She stepped forward. You weren't even paying attention to him anymore. I snapped. That is your excuse. That I was busy planning a wedding, working full-time, and keeping this family afloat, so you thought, why not sleep with my sister's plans? She opened her mouth again, but Daniel interrupted. We didn't plan it like this. I turned to him. Then what did you plan, Daniel? A double honeymoon? Matching vows? His face flushed. It was just different with her. And just like that, everything inside me went still. It was different with her. The words rang in my ears like sirens. He didn't say it was a mistake, or that it meant nothing, or that it was temptation, weakness, or a lapse in judgment. He said it was different, like I was a chore, and she was the prize. It hit me all at once. I wasn't just betrayed. I was replaced. I looked at them standing there, together, facing me like I was the intruder. And I realized something that would carry me through the darkest nights to come. They weren't sorry. They were just caught. I didn't scream. I didn't break things. I didn't cry. I just walked upstairs, packed a single bag, took my wedding dress off the hanger, folded it gently into its garment bag, and zipped it shut. Then I came back downstairs, looked them both in the eyes, and said, Congratulations. You deserve each other. And I left. But that wasn't the end. Not by a long shot. Because when someone carves betrayal this deep into your soul, there's only one thing left to do. Make them pay. People think the moment you find out the truth is the worst part. It's not. The worst part is everything after. Because when the shouting ends, when the betrayal is laid bare, you're left standing in a quiet, broken world that used to be yours. And suddenly, it's not. I moved into a small, 1-bedroom apartment that night. It smelled like dust and bleach. The walls were bare. The windows rattled when it rained. It was the kind of place I'd promised myself I'd never live in again after Mom died. But it was all I could afford. I spent the first few days in silence. I didn't eat, didn't cry, didn't scream. I just sat, alone, staring at the blank walls, holding my wedding dress in my lap like a corpse. There were moments, in the middle of the night, where I forgot, just for a second. I'd wake up thinking I needed to call Chloe about the venue deposit, or check with Daniel about the vows. And then it would hit me. They were together. Not just in secret, not in the past, but still. Even after I walked out. No apology. No chase. No shame. In fact, they'd made it official within 2 weeks. Chloe posted a photo on her Instagram, a shot of her and Daniel at the same park where he proposed to me. Same willow tree. Same stupid fairy lights. She captioned it, "Right place, right person, wrong time." The comments were full of hearts and congratulations. People didn't know. Or worse, they didn't care. That broke something in me. Not just the betrayal, but the world's indifference to it. People always say, cut off toxic people. What they don't tell you is how lonely the world becomes when you do. My phone went silent. Mutual friends didn't want to take sides. Extended family didn't reach out. Some even blamed me, said maybe I should have seen it coming. Said maybe I pushed Chloe too hard. One aunt actually said, well, at least Daniel stayed in the family. I wanted to vanish. I wanted to sleep for a year. Or 20. But grief is strange. It doesn't sit still. Eventually, it mutates. It becomes something sharp. One night, I was sitting on the floor with my wedding dress laid out in front of me. I had planned to burn it. I even had the lighter in my hand. But then I stopped. Because I realized, why should I destroy something beautiful because of them? Why should I be the one to disappear? To fall apart? To suffer in silence while they lived happily ever after with no consequences? No. If they weren't going to give me closure, I'd make my own. That was the night I started planning. But not a revenge full of chaos or public scenes. No, that would have been too easy, too loud. I wanted something deeper, quieter. Something that would grow like rot beneath their perfect little life. So I got to work. I started documenting everything. The photos I had found. The time-stamped videos. The conversations I remembered. Even the bank transfers. I discovered Daniel had used my savings account to pay for hotel rooms during his secret getaways with Chloe. Thousands of dollars, my dollars, spent on cheating weekends. I met with a lawyer. Not for a lawsuit, not yet. But just to understand my options. Daniel and I weren't married, so legally, I had no claim. But financially, emotionally, I had leverage. I had proof. And then I remembered something even more powerful. The wedding business. See, I'd built a small name for myself locally as an independent wedding consultant. People trusted me. Vendors gave me discounts. Brides followed my blog for advice and inspiration. I'd helped 3 other couples plan their weddings, and I was in talks to open my own boutique studio. And guess what? Chloe had always dreamed of being part of that. She'd often said, when you open your place, I want to help, maybe run the styling side. She wanted in, on everything. Now she had taken Daniel. But she couldn't take my name, my reputation, my career. And I wasn't going to let her forget what she had destroyed. So I started writing. Not online, not on my blog. Not for sympathy or attention. I wrote a long, raw, detailed letter. Not addressed to Chloe. Not to Daniel. But to myself. It was called, For the Woman Who Survived a Knife to the Heart and Learned to Use It. I poured everything into it. The lies. The hurt. The silence. The injustice. But also the strength. The resilience. The fury that had kept me alive. That letter became my compass. I printed it. Folded it. Slipped it into the pocket of my old wedding dress. And then I hung that dress in my new apartment, not as a reminder of pain, but as armor. Every morning, I woke up and looked at it. And I remembered. They did this. They broke me, but they didn't bury me. One afternoon, a mutual friend reached out, quietly, secretly. She had seen the Instagram post. She knew the truth. She said, "I can't believe they did that to you. Do you want me to remove your name from the bridal party list?" I paused. "No," I said. "Leave it. I wanted them to see me, to remember, to feel the eyes burning in from the shadows they had cast me into. I didn't want a confrontation. I wanted a slow unraveling. And I had only just begun. Because revenge isn't about shouting. It's about precision. And I was about to turn their perfect little world into glass. Just so I could watch it crack. People expect revenge to be loud. Screaming. Public. Explosive. But the truth is, the coldest revenge doesn't erupt. It seeps. It poisons slowly, without noise, without mess. It waits. And I had learned how to wait. My plan didn't start with fire or fury. It started with a story. The letter I wrote to myself, for the woman who survived a knife to the heart and learned to use it, wasn't just therapy anymore. It became my foundation. I rewrote it, edited it, expanded it, and turned it into a blog post. Anonymous. No names. No locations. Just emotion, betrayal, and brutal truth. It went viral in a week. Brides, sisters, strangers from around the world flooded the comments section. This is my story too. You put into words what I couldn't say out loud. Whoever you are, you're not alone. I watched from the shadows as my pain became power. People were sharing it, messaging it, quoting it. And slowly, I started dropping hints. Clues only local people would recognize. A photo of a greenhouse. A blurred out screenshot of a honeymoon confirmation email. A dress sketch. A venue floor plan. A guest list detail. Not enough for strangers to track, but enough for Daniel and Chloe to know. Because I wanted them to feel it. Not shame. Not guilt, they weren't capable of that. But exposure, the tension of secrets slithering just beneath the surface. I wanted them to sweat every time someone complimented them. To flinch when someone said, "You two are so lucky." To wonder, do they know? Then came step 2. The takedown of their future. Daniel had started a boutique marketing firm right after our breakup. Funded, as I found out through an anonymous tip, partly by my stolen savings. He marketed it as a family-first business, focused on weddings and romantic brands. He had partnered with a few photographers and event planners. One of them happened to be an old contact of mine from when I was freelancing. I reached out. Innocent, friendly. "Hey, I heard you're working with Daniel. Just a heads up. You might want to Google him and his new fiancée." Then I sent an anonymous Dropbox link. No explanations. Just proof. Photos. Videos. Dates. I didn't lie. I didn't alter anything. I simply shared the truth and let it spread like rot. Within a week, Daniel lost 2 partnerships. One venue blacklisted him. The local wedding influencer he'd been trying to book a collab with posted a cryptic story. "Some people look like a dream until you see the nightmare they came from." Step 3. Chloe. She had started building her own styling brand, using my ideas. My mood boards. My color palettes. She'd even reposted photos from our shared planning days without credit. One caption read, "Love creating this concept for a client. Can't wait to do more boho Luke's weddings." The photo was of my concept, my venue, my table settings, the ones I had designed for my wedding. That was the last straw. So I created a portfolio site. Clean, minimalist, beautiful. On the homepage, I displayed my original mood board, time-stamped, watermarked. Next to it, screenshots of Chloe's versions, dates, file metadata, caption matches. Then I linked it all under a new anonymous Instagram account called Add Wedding Shesto. The bio? Some vows are made, some are taken, some are stolen. I didn't have to do anything else. Within 48 hours, the account had 12 000 followers. Within a week, it was being reshared by wedding bloggers, stylists, and planners across the country. People started asking questions. Clients began backing out. The it couple became that couple. But the final blow, that was reserved, personal, intimate. Daniel and Chloe had planned to host a soft launch party for their new wedding venture, a way to showcase their new studio space, complete with sample tablescapes, mock ceremonies, influencer invites, and a live stream toast. They sent out digital invitations. I wasn't supposed to see it, but I did, and I RSVP'd. Not as myself, but as the ghost. No name. Just one word. Accepted. They didn't know who it was. They tried guessing. Paranoia started cracking their perfect exterior. And the day before the party, I delivered my final gift. It was a box, wrapped in pale ivory ribbon, delivered to their studio doorstep. Inside, my wedding dress, folded neatly, pristine, and tucked inside the bodice, that same letter. Handwritten. Raw, with one new line added to the bottom. You didn't just lose me. You lost your shield. Now let the world see who you really are. I didn't show up to the launch, but I watched it online. Watched Daniel's nervous smile. Watched Chloe fidgeting. Watched the carefully lit room fill with people pretending not to know what they knew. The comments section? Brutal. Is this the guy from that cheating thread? Wait, isn't this the wedding he ruined? Is this at wedding she stole? They tried to ignore it, push through. But I had turned their dream into glass. And the cracks were showing. That night, I slept for the first time in months. Not because they had suffered, but because I had taken back control. They thought they could silence me with betrayal. They forgot who they were betraying. I had built myself from ashes once. They had no idea what I could build from rage. I thought I was done. The revenge was complete. The world had seen their ugliness. Their careers were unraveling, their reputations whispering into ashes. My pain had been poured into something sharp, and they were bleeding from it, slowly, steadily, publicly. I moved on. I began rebuilding. Not out of spite, but because it was finally quiet enough to hear myself again. I rebranded my planning business, changed the name, launched my site, built something new with the same hands that once trembled while sewing my wedding veil. The community rallied. People I never knew started hiring me. Brides who had read my anonymous letter emailed me privately. I want someone with your strength planning my day. And for the first time in years, I felt alive. Not haunted, not broken. Free. I even started dating again. Slowly, carefully, but genuinely. I didn't think about Daniel or Chloe anymore. Not really. Until the email came. It was from an old Gmail address I barely remembered, a backup account I'd used once to share wedding notes with Chloe before everything fell apart. The subject line: I never wanted you to find out like this. The sender name? Mom. My hands froze. Mom died 8 years ago, cancer. I sat with her through every chemo session. I held her hand as she took her last breath. So the email wasn't from her, but it was about her. I opened it. Inside was a forwarded message. Originally sent from my mother's private email, dated 6 months before she died, addressed to me, but never delivered. Never sent. Never seen. The forwarding note was from some estate attorney's assistant. Apparently, they were clearing out digital belongings from a legacy server the hospital used. They had found a few unsent drafts and reached out in case any were of value to surviving family. There was only one draft attached. One message. And it changed everything. Subject: Please forgive your sister. My eyes locked on the screen. My breath stopped. Sweetheart, if you're reading this, I've either lost the strength to tell you myself or run out of time. Either way, I need you to know something. Something I should have told you years ago, but I was afraid. Ashamed. But silence has no place in love. Chloe is not your sister. She's your daughter. You were 15, He hurt you. Your stepfather. I know what he did. You blacked it out. I know. I saw how your body forgot to protect you just to help you survive. You went into shock for weeks. Therapy helped, but part of you blocked it all out completely. And then, a few months later, you were pregnant. We told everyone I was having another child late in life. I wore padding in public while you stayed hidden at home. You were so thin, so pale. You thought it was stress, but it wasn't. You gave birth to Chloe, and you thought she was your sister. And I let you believe it. I thought I was protecting you. I thought maybe, if I kept that truth away, you could have some peace. Maybe you'd grow up free from that horror. But now, watching you both grow, the guilt eats me alive. You love her so deeply, and she loves you, but neither of you knows what binds you. Please, if this reaches you one day, forgive her. She didn't ask to be born from pain. She didn't know the truth, either. She just wanted love. Maybe too much. I'm so sorry. I hope one day, both of you will understand. Mom. I couldn't move. The world was silent. Everything stopped, except for the sound of my heartbeat thundering like a war drum in my chest. Chloe was my daughter. Not my sister. Not my little shadow. Not a child I took care of out of obligation, but one I had brought into the world through a storm of trauma I didn't even remember. That's why I loved her the way I did. Why I never resented her, even when I should have. Why some part of me always forgave her. Always held on to her, no matter how selfish or cruel she became. Because something in my blood remembered what my mind could not. She was mine. And I never knew. I cried for hours. Not the broken, betrayed sobs from the day I found the photos. Not the silent rage of the aftermath. This time, it was something older. Something deeper. A grief so big, I didn't know how I'd lived without feeling it all these years. How could she betray me? How could she look me in the eyes, knowing I had done everything for her? And then I realized. She didn't know either. If the email was true, and it was true, then Chloe had lived her entire life not knowing who she really was. She thought I was just a sister. Controlling. Bossy. Overbearing. She didn't know I was the one who had carried her. Birthed her. Nearly died for her. She had spent her life chasing love in all the wrong places because the one place she could have found it was hidden from her. By silence. By protection. By fear. I didn't contact her. Not yet. I watched her world fall apart from the shadows. I watched the business collapse. Watched Daniel cheat again. Yes, he moved on from her the same way he did from me. She posted a photo 3 months later, a quote on a white background. When you realize you've been the villain in someone else's story, it breaks something in you. No tags. No faces. Just a caption. And I knew. She was broken, too. I wanted to hate her. I should have hated her. But all I saw was a confused, lost girl, craving love in the arms of the man who had taken everything from both of us. And I understood. So I wrote one final letter. I didn't send it, but I needed to write it. Dear Chloe, I know everything now. I know who you are, who I am, who we were supposed to be. I don't forgive you for what you did with Daniel. I probably never will. But I need you to know this. You didn't just betray your sister. You betrayed your mother. But I still love you. Because I remember the little girl who held my pinky while crossing streets. I remember the way you used to fall asleep on my lap during thunderstorms. I remember the way you called me your hero. Even now, after everything, some part of me would still trade my life to protect yours. That's what mothers do. Her, not your sister. Your mother. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer. Maybe one day she'll read it. Maybe not. But for now, I've chosen something stronger than revenge. Peace. Because sometimes, the most powerful twist of all is surviving.